My love, thank you. It's milled out of a solid piece of aluminium.
So it's a lump of metal?
Yeah, it's a lump of metal, but it's aluminium metal. So it's very light and it's very strong, and because it's got no joins around these sorts of areas where it gets a lot of use, you know, it's not going to crack or break. It's also got, can you see there's a glowing light there? Yeah? OK, that's the metal glowing. They've milled it thin at that point so that the light comes through the metal.
Yeah, well, that's all very well, but what about attention to cost? I offer you Exhibit A, the cheapest MacBook on the market, £719. You can't argue with the fact that you can get a better spec'd PC for about half the price of that.
Sometimes, my darling, you can't put too much emphasis on pleasure. I get a lot of pleasure from typing.
This is all about your typing, is it?
You better believe it. I mean, there is not a laptop on the market, in my opinion, that is as lovely to type on as this. I would say I can type quicker and more efficiently on this keyboard than on any other laptop I've ever used.
I feel a challenge coming on. If I can find you a laptop that can suit all your needs, that's lighter and cheaper that you can type on, will you give up that Apple?
I think that's so unlikely, my lad, that I accept that bet.
OK.
You go.
I've chosen the stylish, solid-state Asus 101, which I think can take on the MacBook in more than just looks. It's a PC using the familiar Windows operating system and has the same 1 gig of DDR RAM as the Mac, yet at just 1 kilogram, it's half the weight. It only has a single processor compared to Mac's dual core, but it's £250 cheaper.
Now, the spec is important when choosing a laptop, but as nearly all laptops come in a whole range of specs, that doesn't necessarily govern what you buy. Indeed, the main difference between the Mac and PC is the operating system. I'm perfectly happy using either, so that's not a big issue for me. The most important part of my laptop is the keyboard. And as I spend hours every day typing, my choice of laptop really does come down to the typing experience. I love the accuracy and feel of my MacBook's keyboard, and if I'm even to consider changing to the Asus, it's going to have to fully satisfy me in that department.
So, for our challenge, Jason will have to copy out a paragraph using both laptops, while his typing speed and accuracy are measured. He'll be typing in the most extreme circumstances possible, inside a NASA-designed gyroscope, subjecting him to 2G. First up, the MacBook.
OK, release the brake, chaps. Jason Bradbury.
Yes.
In 3,
yes.
2, 1. Start the clock.
Go! OK. God made the angels. This is easy.
Oh,
I'm
well,
making
chaps.
a few mistakes.
Oh, let him go. Let him
No! Oh, my Lord!
Are you still typing?
In no way am I typing!
It has keys set in metal enclosures, making them both thinner and more durable. The design has also evolved, so now each key is evenly separated by a 3mm gap, making mistyping much less likely, even in extreme circumstances.
Stop the clock! I've done it! Oh.
You're right. OK, Jace, here's your results for the MacBook. Your speed was 25 words a minute, and you made 8 mistakes. That's actually pretty good, considering you were nearly vomiting. Right, now it's time for the Asus. Start the clock. How does it feel on your fingers, that keyboard?
Terrible.
Why terrible? Explain.
It's too small. The keys are too small, they're too light. There was a whale. I can't get to the right shift key at all. It's a complete chaotic movement.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I think you're being a bit negative about this because it's not your Mac, and I think you're going to have to go upside down.
I don't think so.
Take them, boys.
Even though the Asus keys are half a millimetre wider than the Mac, the space between each one is just 1 millimetre.
So horrible!
Which is 1/3 of that of the Mac. On top of this, the Mac's spacebar is 15 millimetres longer and its mouse mat is 50% wider than the Asus.
Let me out, I'm going to be sick. It's rubbish.
You're
You
right.
need to check what I've typed. It's rubbish. It's not a Mac preference. It's an honest reaction to it. It is no contender.
OK, so I
you
did
failed.
fail
You
at
failed.
the final hurdle to wean him off. I did quite well with Last.fm. I got you off iTunes.
That's the surprise of this week's challenge, I have to say.
It is, and that's about all we've got time for on this week's show. Got
Hands
a great
off the
show
MacBook.
for you next week. I'm just trying to say good night.
Just because I'm friendly doesn't mean you can grab the book.
Just share it.
Hand it back.
Share it.
Share does not compute.
Just don't be silly. I want to just have a go.
Does not compute.
Good night.
It's back.
Give it to me.
MacBook back.